Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
It's 10 o'clock and this is the network service of Radio Nigeria. Morning, listener. Welcome to another edition of Electoral Reform Hour on the network service of Radio Nigeria. On the program last week, we had an engaging conversation with Alhaji Sheikh El Wahab, the resident electoral commissioner, Nasarawa State. Our discussion focused on electoral law reforms and the changes needed ahead of the 2027 elections. We examined the existing gaps, the effectiveness of the past reforms, and the obstacles that possibly stand in the way of transparent, credible electoral system. If you did tune in, you will agree it was a conversation filled with deep insights and critical takeaways. Today we will be discussing empowering women and expanding voter access in Nigeria. Our focus will be on barriers to women's political participation, diaspora voting, early voting, and voting rights, and so much more. Should Nigeria adopt diaspora voting? Could early voting improve participation? These are critical questions today. We're here to explore practical solutions. Stay with us as we break it all down right here on Electoral Reform Hour. Don't go away. My name is Deze Mwangwagu, your anchor. Electoral Reform Hour is a program aimed to foster inclusive dialogue among citizens from varied backgrounds concerning electoral reform and constitutional amendment. We seek to enhance public understanding and awareness regarding electoral reforms and possibly compile and present citizen-derived recommendations to the National Assembly and the Independent National Electoral Commission for consideration. This program is brought to you by Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, with a generous support from MacArthur Foundation. Women in Nigeria make up nearly half of the population and a significant portion of the electorate. Yet their participation in politics and governance remains severely limited. While they turn out in large numbers to vote, they are grossly underrepresented in elective and appointive positions. Deep-rooted cultural norms, economic disadvantages, and political exclusion continue to hinder their involvement in governance. Many women struggle to secure party nominations, face electoral financial barriers to running for office, and experience violence and intimidation when they do. These challenges raise very serious questions about the inclusivity of Nigeria's democratic process and the steps needed to bridge the gender gap in our politics. Beyond women's participation, voter access remains a pressing issue. Many Nigerians, including those in diaspora, face legal and logistical barriers in voting. Should Nigeria adopt diaspora voting? Are there challenges that make it unfeasible? Additionally, the lack of early voting options prevents citizens on election duty from participating fully in elections. These issues call for urgent discussions on how to make Nigeria's electoral system more accessible and representative of all citizens. Dr. Aisha Abdullahi is a seasoned diplomat and former commissioner for political affairs at the African Union. During her tenure, she played a key role in promoting democratic governance, human rights, and electoral reforms across Africa. Dr. Aisha engaged in high-level dialogues on women's political participation, humanitarian challenges, and international peace initiatives. With a strong background in diplomacy and governance, Dr. Abdullahi has been a vocal advocate for inclusive democracy and human rights on the continent. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the program this morning, Ivy.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eze, Chief Eze, my brother, friend, and colleague at the board of Young Africa. He didn't add that I've been on the board.
I'm not done. As the program progresses, your profile is too short. It's too big to come into a program like this. So we'll be taking it.
Okay, well noted. So I'll be patient as we move the program along. Thank you very much.
So it's been a while since you left the AU, and I know that you've been working in different areas. Like you said, you are a very strong, personality within the board of Young Africa, and your own NGO that you also established after. So what has it been like generally for you?
Well, it's quite a break, at the African Union. He left the African Union in 2017. And as you had rightly said, I was in charge of the Political Affairs Department, mostly working under several clusters, issues to do with constitutionalism and rule of law, human rights, governance, elections, and I was also handling the humanitarian file. Now the setting in the African Union Commission has changed, but at that time, that was what I was presiding upon. Yeah. So since I left the EU, I've been quite busy doing other things. I have been very active in the civil society. I'm a board member of Young Africa. I also have an NGO which I had co-founded, the Savannah Institute for Sustainable Development, where we work under 3 clusters: energy and environment, good governance, and peace and security. I also volunteer myself for other organizations. I also get appointed to lead other missions, to lead some processes like I'm currently doing for ECOWAS. I'm working on the review on the protocol on democracy and good governance. So I've tried to remain active, but also I'm really in touch with the grassroots because I know
that's your passion. I know you have.
Yes.
And one other interesting part is that you're a scientist.
Yes.
And then coming into governance, politics, and conflicts issues. And you've been commissioner in the Bauchi State, I think, for science and tech.
No, for special duties.
Commissioner for special duties.
Yes.
So you've been you're well prepared for some of the things that you're doing right now. So, but coming to our conversation this morning, women make over 49% of registered voters, and yet still hugely underrepresented in elective offices. What special legal? Anyway, let me not go to legal. What do you think needs to happen to align this, the voter strength to the elective positions or appointed positions? Because if you contribute 49% in voting, even if you get 60% in terms of appointed or elective positions, that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Well, the reality is that women not only make up 49% of registered voters, but everywhere you go in this country during any election, you see more women on the queue. The turnout, as per what you observe physically on the queue, you see more women queuing to vote. Sometimes they could be pregnant, sometimes they could be carrying babies, the elderly. But what you can see, what has been recorded, what has been tradition in this country is that more women have the patience to queue and vote, but in many cases for male candidates. It is not only unique to Nigeria, it's like an African phenomenon. Everywhere you go, you see more women on the queue, come rain or sunshine. And as you had said, we are about 50% of the population. In some places where people talk about 51% in their population, you are talking about the registered voters, but what is clear is that there are more women than men. In a country of continent of 1.3 billion people, with Nigeria being the giant in terms of size, in terms of economy, I think it would not be fair when we are talking about equity and justice to continue to keep the women out of the picture, because there are issues that are very close to women. For example, when you go to most local communities, you see women go to fetch water on pots, on whatever, using whatever kind of containers they could. They bring the water home to clean the home, to cook for the family, in fact, for even the men to bathe themselves. So unless we get women into places where these decisions are made, it will be very difficult because for a man there would always be food on the table. He would always have his shower, or have warm water in the bucket to take his bath. So these are issues that are very close to the heart of women, and it makes sense that they are involved when these decisions are made.
So and you've led observation missions, at least for Yaga, and even while you were in the EU. I know that Rwanda, Senegal has statutory quotas and all of that. What's your take on that? What do you think it will be of any value? Yeah.
Let me begin with my experience with Rwanda, because Rwanda is not just an African champion or a continental champion, but like a global champion. Nowhere in the world where you see more women in parliament than you see in Rwanda. And I had interacted with the Rwandan women, and I was asking them, I said, look, how come you are so many? Of course, the first thing they say is the gender quota. That they said President Kagame insisted that women play active roles, not only in the parliament, but also in terms of appointment. He gives a lot of appointment to women. And but they also said to me that their men also encourage them, because it is not like our situation here whereby the emoluments are that great, So I think part of the issue is that where money is involved in politics, women cannot perform greatly, because in many cases we know it's a non-fact that women don't have as much money, and even women that have money, 70% of the money that they make, they spend it in the household.
Absolutely.
So it's very difficult for women to have that kind of money. Very few women, of course. We have the Folorisho Alakija. We have rich women in the country, but there are very few. There are very few compared to the number of men we have.
And they are not so willing to do the Godfather thing, even the Folorisho Alakija of this world that you talked about.
I don't know what you are talking about, but what I know is that there are few. The women that have money are few out there. So I think in Rwanda, what really helped is that the emoluments are not that great. The service that is required is very high, and they have the leadership of Kagame. All of them are so. And for a country that had been through genocide, they had seen it all. Over 1 million people died in about 100 days. It was so unfortunate, but they had said never again. They have, every person from Rwanda has this resolve to change the course of history, and they are succeeding. Never mind the other challenges that they have, but as per development, as per inclusion, Rwanda is doing very well. When you take the case of Senegal, Senegal is also another interesting case, because I had been in a forum where they say, the part of the issue of women participation in politics is that they mentioned issues of religion, culture, and everything. I found it very interesting, because Senegal is a majority Muslim country, and they have almost over 40%. They have been enjoying over 40% representation in parliament. Of course, the quotas have helped in Senegal greatly, but also the women are also doing a wonderful service that is encouraging everybody in Senegal to ensure that that quota is secured for them. And when Sudan was Sudan, before the current crisis, it was very interesting when I was interacting with the Sudanese women. They told me that they had over 33%. So Sudan, that we consider to be conservative.
33% women.
Women in parliament. Excellent. And they said their source of strength in the parliament was the speaker of their parliament, the National Assembly. That all the protection, all the help, all the support, all the recognition that they were enjoying in parliament was courtesy the Speaker of Parliament. They were even encouraging me to meet him and say thank you to him for giving them the support. So women, what we need in most cases, just a bit of propping up, encouragement, but the energy.
Do you think we need a statutory quota in Nigeria?
We do definitely, because I'm coming to that. Nigeria has been ranging between 3.5 to 5% women in parliament for a very long time. And with the statistics that you have started saying, over 49% women register, over about 50 in terms of the demography. 3, 4, 5% is very low for women in parliament. I know in terms of appointment, government has been trying for some time due to the affirmative action that has been done for a long time. But I believe that as the giant of Africa, as a regional locomotive in West Africa, Nigeria has been providing leadership for a very long time. And I think it is time that Nigerians, I know the 9th Assembly rejected it. We hope that the current 10th Assembly will tolerate us and provide a quota for women to increase their representation.
So political parties, that's where the challenge is, especially for elective positions. It's what the political parties give to us that we vote for. So I think the bigger work for the presentation. So we first look at participation within the political parties. Mm-hmm. And my challenge, therefore, is should the electoral to reserve, should we be having fixed percentages for women in the party and then in the candidature?
I think when we are talking about equity, justice, democracy as per elective positions, it begins within the political party. Unless we have regulations, guidelines, insisting that there's some kind of internal democracy within the political parties, we'll never get there. As you had said, whatever is meant from the political parties, it is what is applied during elections. But it cannot just happen, parazar, just like that. It has to be something that is deliberate, planned for, and even if it requires an amendment, in the Constitution, sure. In the Electoral Act, and whatever in terms of the INEC guidelines and regulations, whatever we need to do to ensure that kind of inclusion, I think it is the time is apt. The time is now.
Training might be, people are talking about training, comprehensive training and support programs. So I know that Yaga has been supporting in the legislature in terms of the women bills that are in the legislature. But for issues of training, you are also very prominent in this space. It's your NGO, the Savannah Center,
Savannah Institute for Sustainable Development.
Is there something you're working around on those kind of issues that you may want to share with us?
Well, we are focusing currently. It's a very small NGO. We are providing safe spaces for women.
Okay.
Safe spaces for them to go to school, safe spaces for them to be included, to be active in society. We are operating in the Northeast, where it's a very conservative area. We have not really succeeded in pushing for political participation, but we believe that from the very basics, including encouraging girls to speak out for themselves, to come to school. Even currently, we are working on menstrual health, because the rate of attrition in schools and also truancy, women during that period sometimes are absent from school, especially in the local communities. So these are the areas that we are looking at, improving safe spaces for women, where women can come to school, can come to work without the fear of being harassed or being violated or being worried about their physical and mental health. Yes, so these are the areas that we are looking at. Yeah.
No, excellent work. But anytime I see you, there's something that goes on in my mind. The issue of role modeling. You've not tiptoed in putting your feet on the sands of the engagement that you have had. How many are we mentoring people? Are we telling our story? Because you've traversed Africa. You've led at the state level. You're doing excellent work, in different boards that you are working for ECOWAS. Is there a storytelling period where you are helping people, inspiring them to? Sorry, I'm coming that. It's something that I've always wanted to ask you. Because these young girls that you talk about needs to hear your story, and that is not being told enough, really.
Thank you very much. I had not said everything, but years ago I remember we had a program that we called Choices for Girls. Interestingly, at that time, we had enjoyed funding from the MacArthur Foundation, where we used to go around schools. At that time, I was based in my state, serving as a commissioner. So we have as a team of mentors, we'd go around schools, talk to girls. Because, for example, for me, I went to the university after getting married.
Oh, really?
Yes. I got married immediately after my secondary school.
Wow.
And I come from a very conservative family. My mother did not go to what we call the Western kind of school.
Education.
Neither did my father. Of course, they were not illiterates because they could read and write in Arabic, what we call Ajami. So if you call them illiterates, I will. And my father also, he went through adult education. He could read and write, read the Gaskiya Tafikobo newspaper and even analyze it for his friends. So they were people that were not illiterate, but they did a nice thing for us as female children at that time. They ensured that even my sister, that is currently 75 years old, they had put her in school.
Wow.
And that was the opening. Even educated people at that time were not putting their female children in school. My father did that.
Wow.
So there was that mentoring. Currently, we are also doing the same thing, but in another gap. We go to schools, especially boarding female schools. After getting access from the Ministry of Education, we talk to the girls. There was the former commissioner, actually, we had like a partnership with him, Commissioner of Education. He said the problem is not getting women in our state to enroll in schools, but getting them to pursue education up to tertiary levels. So we had a program that we nicknamed JIT, Girls in Tertiary Education. So what we're doing is going to schools, secondary schools, especially talking to girls that are in the senior secondary schools, encourage them that, look, getting a senior secondary school certificate is not enough for you to succeed in life. You need to go higher. Each one of us would stand on the podium, share their experiences. So we are hoping that through such activities that we could encourage girls to pursue tertiary education. We also had a partnership with the Bauchi State University, currently called Adzongo University. The partnership has ended, but at that time we used to go there, talk to the girls, encourage them, also encourage them to talk with the university about guaranteeing safe spaces for the girls to continue with their tertiary education.
So in the participation in the states is also relatively dismal. I mean, for both elective and appointive positions. And sometimes people make it a northern thing, but it's not true. If you go to the south, the legislature is male dominated. So particularly, are there examples of people who have been in politics, women who have excelled in politics, that can become examples? Can any come to your mind that can become examples with which we can use to touchlight the need for more women to participate?
For example, anytime, for example, I said to them, I said, look, we have had female prime ministers from very conservative countries like Bangladesh and Pakistan, which has not been possible in the United States of America up to now. Anytime there's a female candidate, it's like there's a gang up to get her out of the way, and the male candidate would always win. This has been happening in very conservative Muslim countries, because you cannot speak about where I come from without reflecting on the Muslim culture. Okay. So women
is it cultural or Muslim?
You know, when you are talking, so it is not Muslim, it's more of a cultural thing. Because for example, if you look at Islam, the Prophet ﷺ said you can learn half of the religion from this young girl, his wife Aisha. The hadith, the traditions that came from Aisha are enormous, because she was studying him, she was teaching men. Down here, Nana Asma was the daughter of Sheikh Usman Danfodio. She had a women movement where she was going around enlightening and educating women, sometimes even traveling around. So it is. I don't see it as a Muslim culture. I think the entire country is a patriarchal society, as you had noted, because if it wasn't, the story would have been different from the southern part of the country.
Absolutely.
So it is everywhere. So the patriarchy is deep in this society.
Yeah. So it's still the Electoral Reform Hour, and you can be a part of the live program by sharing your comments via our social media platforms on X at paka.ng, paaca.ng, with the hashtag at Electoral Reform Hour CAP, and you can leave your questions and comments for us on Facebook via at paka CAP, and our WhatsApp number 0816 8083 424. Our phone lines will be open soon. Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned to Electoral Reform Hour on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We'll be back shortly.
Are you ready for change? Join Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, PACA, every Thursday from 10 to 11 a.m. on the network service of Radio Nigeria for the Electoral Reform Hour. This program will amplify electoral reform campaigns and provide citizens with opportunity to make meaningful contributions that will strengthen our electoral process.
If you get the presidential election in place and National Assembly in place, and something happens to the governorship and the state assembly, there will be a president in place, there will be National Assembly in place. They can play a key role in making sure that the gap does not affect our constitutional stability. So I think that the way we are going is much, much better, and we should stick to it. It has worked for us and it's working for us, and there's no need to change what is working as of today.
Part of the things we used to grapple with then was the issue of ballot box snatching. You also would grapple with the issue of using police officers to even snatch the ballot boxes, the police officers that go with the politicians to the polling units. Over time, we saw that some of those issues that were identified, there were steps being taken to address them.
The electoral process, if we don't have women engaging or being represented, it means that our electoral process is not democratic, because democracy in itself is about inclusion and is about representation.
Let's embark on this path to significant transformation and well-informed decision-making together. As the National Assembly, INEC and other stakeholders work toward improving our electoral process, you too can be a part of the decision-making process by participating in the radio program.
You are on to Aisha Abdullahi Mohammed, aka Aluta Asmis. I'm calling for Big Local Government Area Council of Major State. I want to ask if a non-INEC staff is found with EC8, that is INEC original result, filled before the conduct of election, what will be the penalty of such non-INEC official?
My name is Mr. Zion. I'm calling you from Bayelsa State. When it comes to elections in this part of the world, we are not sincere to ourselves. We are so hypocritical and we are so criminally minded. You don't see the sincerity in us. You don't see the patrioticity in us. If Big Brother Niger can conduct election electronically to get their winner, how come Nigeria as a country, we cannot achieve the same results? Let us go back to the normal form, where you come with your paper. The community is here. They can see my face. They can see my picture. You tick me, I go straight to the voting system. Let us learn to save the money we don't have in this country.
Remember, democracy is for the people. Let your voice be heard. This message is brought to you with support from MacArthur Foundation. PACA, making democracy work for the people.
Thanks for staying tuned. We are back with your favorite program, Electoral Reform Hour, on the network service of Radio Nigeria.
Welcome back. You're still listening to Electoral Reform Hour on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We've been having an insightful conversation with Dr. Aisha Abdullahi on empowering women and expanding voter access in Nigeria. Dr. Aisha, many African countries, including Ghana and South Africa, allow diaspora voting. What legal and logistical challenges prevent Nigeria from implementing that?
Well, thank you very much for this question. First, I had said in the first part of the program that Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Over 200 million people. Some are talking about 230 million currently. And they say this, and I think it is true, that everywhere you go in the world, you don't see a Nigerian just just run away. So Nigerians are everywhere. Now, this is one side. On the other side, our constitution grants every citizen the right to vote, and no Nigerian should be disenfranchised. All things being equal. So we have this huge population in the country. We have this huge population outside the country, spread everywhere in the world.
Documented and undocumented.
Documented and undocumented, legal and illegal migrants. For example, when I went to Sudan, when I was at the African Union, they told me that in Sudan, that there were about 7 million Nigerians, because
in between 2015 and 2017.
Around that time, yes. They said there were 7 million Nigerians. And I had been to Darfur. When I went to Darfur, because that was where there was conflict, and that was where UNAMID, the hybrid African Union UN mission, was located. I could get by in house everywhere, even in the palace of the chief.
Wow.
So it is true, because Sudan is a typical one, because in those the migration to Sudan has been historical, because Sudan was one of the routes, was on the route to Mecca, that people, especially from the northern part of the country, take to go for Hajj. And since the journey was on foot, you could stop in a place, walk, earn more money, and move on.
Wow.
On your way to Saudi Arabia, to Mecca at that time, and also on your way back. And some chose to stay there for good and never came back.
Okay, you can now join the conversation by calling 091-5090-10482, 091-5090-482, 0915 0910 483. You can join the conversation with Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, former Commissioner for Political Affairs at the African Union, member of the board of Yaga Africa, and former Commissioner for Special Duties in Bauchi State. Do we have a caller yet? It's your time to join us if you can. And you can also leave your questions and comments for us on WhatsApp on 0816-8083-424 and on X at paka.ng and Facebook at pakapaka. So, Dr. Aisha, if diaspora voting is implemented, should it be restricted to presidential elections or extended to both the legislative and governorship polls? What should embassies and consulates, what role should the embassies and consulates play in making that happen?
Yeah, I had also served in the Republic of Guinea. I was the ambassador of Nigeria in the Republic of Guinea from 2008 to 2012. And even at that time...
Hello,
good morning.
Good morning. Can we meet you? Sorry, what's the name again? Yeah, how are you doing?
Thanks, sir. Yes, I want to add to your discussion about the women participation in every sphere of our life. What we needed in the northern area because of religion, it cannot detach the decision from our life. So our women who are in the participating around the political activities, they should maintain modesty in their dressing and conduct so that women counterparts can support them to know maybe kind of suspect them of any move. So because there are some issues around women.
Ndagi, the problem is not northern. It's a Nigerian challenge that women are not participating. So if it is dressing, so the northern women are dressing modestly, if that's what you are saying, why have they not been supported?
That's what I'm saying. Women generally, women were not the same. Because of the conduct of some people that allow men not to support the other women. But if they maintain that, I bet you then they will have our support.
Thank you for your contribution. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you, Yaya. Thank you. So, Ajay, you want to weigh in or you want to continue on?
I think what he said is beyond. It's true that women, if they want to continue to be respected wherever, not only in parliament, they must conduct themselves in the most modest manner they could, whether they are from the north, south, or western part of the country.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, can we meet you?
Yes, good morning to my mommy in the studio this morning.
Good morning. Who is calling?
Thank you for having me. This is Comrade Abdullahi Mohammed, a.k.a. Aluta Osmis. I'm calling for the local government area council of Niger State.
Comrade Abdullahi,
my take on this electoral reform that is currently ongoing. I'm bringing this to the notice of the members that are involved in this electoral reform, that on no account should any member who has registered with a particular political party be allowed to be moved from one political party to the other. It is quite unfortunate. When a democracy, so we will try as much as possible to make sure democracy in Nigeria has come to rest. That's my take this one. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Abdullah. Did you listen to us?
Huh?
Did you listen to our program this morning?
Yeah. I'm listening.
Okay, we are talking about women participation and how to improve it.
Okay, women participation in politics. That's a very good one. During the last time of Patricia, she happens to be the first speaker. But I was imagining, why was she impeached? Are there not people who have been elected as Speaker of the House of Representatives and they have been found wanting? So women should be given that opportunity. In fact, I'm advocating that in this coming 2027 presidential election, women should be given the opportunity of vice president. Thank you, madam. That's my take, sir.
Thank you for your contribution. I don't think so. Let's talk about diaspora because that's what we are facing.
Okay.
Let's weigh in. I was asking what role the consular offices.
Yeah. So as I reminded you that I was also Nigeria's ambassador in the Republic of Guinea,
yeah.
and even at that time during the elections, they had diaspora voting. I couldn't remember to say exactly whether it was just limited to presidential, but I think it was limited to presidential in Guinea at that time. I don't know whether it has changed now. We were recently in Ghana. They had what they call proxy voting, that you can vote by proxy. There's a procedure for that. There's a guideline for that. We can study the Ghanaian case. Because of our sheer size and number, definitely diaspora voting will come with a lot of challenges because we are everywhere, we are many, but we have also, in terms of spread, we have a lot of embassies and consulates all over the world that can assist. But it's not to say that just because there will be problems, we shouldn't start. I think we can start with at least the presidential, continue to be refined. Like for example, after the 2023 elections, in terms of improving general elections in Nigeria, INEC received 142 recommendations to improve on further elections. Apart from the general elections, INEC has been having off-cycle and by-elections. And anytime these elections happen, people criticize them and send recommendations to them. So just because there will be a problem with diaspora voting does not mean that we shouldn't start as an At least we can identify some places, do like baseline study, find out where Nigerians are most in number, and probably begin with those locations. And then as the process gets more fine-tuned, as we dedicate more resources to such activities, then we can expand to other places. Electronic voting is also important with all the challenges that come with technology.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Abdullahi Mustafa Mohammed Jafi, calling from Bida, Niger State.
Abdullahi, good morning. Can you make your contribution?
Good morning. I think I really commend the woman who is speaking there.
Dr. Aisha Abdullahi.
Dr. Aisha Abdullahi. I think she has spoken excellently. But I want her to be advocate of women affirmative in parliament and politics. Women need to be given a chance. In politics, women are supposed to be a vanguard, supposed to be a full soldier to support women in terms of election. Even electorate supposed to be right behind, so that you have you'll see the vacant position available. The number given today, allocated to women, has not been filled. How many women in the parliament, in this 10th parliament? Women, when women have problems, women all over Nigeria supposed to rally around them, support them, give them, throw their weight behind them, and defend them. When it comes to elected position, women, if women like to produce a female president today or parliamentarian today, they will defeat men, hands down. But women are silent. They have silent voice. They need to speak up. Aisha, Dr. Aisha, please, I want you to lead that advocacy. Go and meet one of the president, Mr. Tinubu. She should lead. She took the flag that women should lead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullahi. Thank you for your call and comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Abdullahi, for your call and your kind comment and your suggestion for women to speak up. Even the current happenings that are taking place in the National Assembly, people are worried that women have not come out in the support of other women, and I think it is key that we support each other, especially the way we are performing abysmally low in Parliament. I don't have access to the First Lady, but we are joining hands with other women at our level to ensure that women participate not only in Parliament but everywhere they could.
So the over 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 poll workers, including ourselves, on presidential elections, most of the time, you are either in Abuja and all of that, we working around these issues, we can't vote. Security personnel, media people, medical people who are on duty. Now, all of these number are not participating in the voting process. And this may even be the most enlightened section in terms of informed voters who are, sidelined by virtue of the work that they do. And our current electoral framework does not, has not. What do you think needs to happen to capture this population?
Thank you very much. That's what we call early voting. We saw it in South Africa. In Ghana, they call it special voting, whereby people that are working during elections, and in most cases not in their constituencies, are able to vote earlier, and that helps in reducing the disenfranchisement, where these people that have dedicated themselves to ensure the development of the democracy in the nation could participate actively. It's a very noble idea. I know for the diaspora voting in the parliament has also reached second reading. It's something that is happening. Whether it will see the light of the day, I hope so. But also this issue of special voting is very important. I've not had a chance to vote for the presidential election for ages. From 2015 when I was at the African Union, 2019 I was working for Yaga, 2023 something. I've not had a chance to vote for the president, and I'm sure it's the same case for you, is it?
Yes.
So it's something very important that should be provided for in the current reforms that are going on.
You've been at policy levels. What do you think could be why is there something why are we still having this kind of conversations? Because you talked about Ghana. Ghana comes to Nigeria. The Ghanaians who live in Nigeria don't travel back to Ghana. They go to their embassies to vote. That's diaspora voting. We are talking about issues around early voting. Our neighbor is doing that. What is our own problem? Is there something that...
I really do not know. I think our number is overwhelming us. I think another issue is probably the requirement for early planning. The next election will be in 2027, exactly two years away. I think when we plan and budget...
Good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello. It's okay. Go ahead, Aisha.
Okay. I think early planning is key. Some of these reforms that we're asking about may require constitutional amendment, which may take at least a year. Even if it passes through Parliament, then we need for it to be taken to the states for others. But it's not late. We are talking about 2 years.
Yeah.
So if we are serious about these things, they are doable. We should just do away with these things.
Can we phase them? Can we start in phases? Is it something we can pilot in?
Definitely. As they say in English, Rome was not built in a day. But we have to start somewhere. It cannot be forever be like this, because these reforms are desirable and they are timely.
So, this conversation is just about how to continue to expand the
civic
space, the democratic space. There are a lot of people who are awaiting trial in cells, in prisons. I know that there are inmates in some other places. You have traveled widely. Inmates, that agitation is currently on. What are your thoughts around it?
I think it's also timely. We saw it in Ghana. What they did in Ghana was that they would bring out the prisoners in buses very early in the morning to vote, and then they are taken back to the correctional centers. Yes. But this could be a bit challenging here. I think for very hardened criminals, looking at the security situation in our country, we have to be very careful on this. Probably we look at people whose cases are not that serious, that grave, because that is one thing. Also, when people, we should also look at people that will be serving for a long time, because if you register them in some place close to the correctional center and then they leave the prison in 6 months' time, in a year's time, then during the next elections it could be problematic. So we have to look at it. But we don't need to reinvent the wheel. These things are happening in other countries. We can study how they are doing it and how they are getting it. At least you mentioned Ghana.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Eisenwa.
Thank you. Good morning. Who am I on to this morning?
Okay. This is Abu calling from Bidda.
Okay, Abu, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks to your guest.
Thanks to Dr.
I've
Aisha
had
Abdullahi.
a wonderful analysis and experience. It's very, very important that you are talking to somebody like that. The way events are unfolding in the country today is very unfortunate that women are mostly affected because of lack of good governance. Today we have banditry, we have all the social crime, we have lack of food insecurity, and we have a lot of unemployment, which leaves women folk in a very terrible situation. What is our perspective, or what is our views on how to ensure that women are not facing most of these calamities we are having in this country? Because at the end of the day, women, they are at the receiving end. Because when a man died, the responsibility lies on the woman. So I'm calling on her to advise the Nigerian political class on how to rescue women on the terrible predicament they are facing, and how to ensure that women are properly taken care of. Thank you very much.
So as I said, you have been advising EU that you should not advise Nigerian political class.
Well, thank you very much. I think from the beginning of the program, I have made my position very clear that women are needed to be around, because there are issues that are very close to women. I mentioned the issue of water, but also the society. Women have triple role. They have role in the home. Most of these children, the bandits, the kidnappers, they had mothers. So it is for a woman to play that role very well. She needs support from the society. They also have a role at their places of work. Even if they don't have offices like we do in cities, women go to the farm. In most of the rural communities, yes, women go to farm. They also have the role in society that we're talking about, playing representational roles, being advocates, and issues like this. But the bottom line of it all is that women need to be educated, women need to be supported, but also women have to be responsible. Once you get out there, there's some degree of responsibility that is expected from you as a woman, because you are a societal model. So the few of us, I tell people that I come from a very conservative society. If I conduct myself very well, I'm opening more doors for girls and women to be allowed to partake. And when I misbehave, it's like I'm closing the door.
You're shutting the doors.
So I'm usually, this thing always, I carry it everywhere I go. I try. I'm not perfect. I'm not an angel. But I
see you like that, though.
But I think the what is required of us, or from us as women, is really a tall order.
Okay, we are going on the home stretch, so I just want you to propose one long-term reform, one other immediate one that you think will improve women participation and voter access in Nigeria. What would that be? Maybe 2, 3, if you like.
When I talk about the quota.
Yes.
Quota, there's no other way that women can be dragged up there unless quotas are provided for them. The other issue is funding. Campaign finance is something very, very key. And women in many cases do not have money. I have had organizations that or foundations like the MacArthur Foundation that you have here that are supporting female candidates. So we have philanthropists in this country. We have multinationals, so many all over the place. I think women, investing in women.
There was a women trust fund. There is a women trust fund that was set up
by
women. By
women. So let's continue to.
It's still an organization that is trying.
Let's continue to donate to baskets like that, so that women can have some finance to.
So that's a long term, short term.
Short term, medium, long term.
Okay. So what's your final thoughts? What are the things? Those things we didn't ask you. You probably have been wanting to talk about on the electoral process, on our governance system. This is the time to share that.
Well, thank you very much. I had said it earlier that Nigeria is the locomotive, especially in this part of the world, by our sheer size, by the size of our economy, and by who we are. We are proud, as we say, Nigerians, we don't carry lasts. Wherever you see a Nigerian in this world, they are exceptional, they are doing very well. I think it's the right time now to rethink, to reorientate our thoughts, to reflect further on who we are as a people. We should get our acts right so that the leadership that we have been playing on the continent, in the sub-region, will be sustained and even be accelerated, because over the years, as Nigerians, we have had a lot of challenges, both at home and abroad. Our passport is not well respected because in some places we don't conduct ourselves very well when we leave the shores of Nigeria. So this is a passionate appeal to all of us, including me that's speaking, that we should try and get our acts right. Thank you.
I think it's a good place to hang the book now. Very special thanks to our guests, former Commissioner for Political Affairs, African Union, for joining us on the program today. To our dear listener, thank you for joining us on this edition of the Electoral Reform Hour, brought to you by Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, with a general support from MacArthur Foundation. Our engineers and studio manager today have been Christy Ankeli and Hassa Usman, and ICT personnel are Mohammed, Sani, and Ann Okeke. Studio manager is Uche Edebeli, and my producers are Ando Hemba Onyi and Joy Ubi. Supervisor is Usena Akila MNI, and my ever dependable crew members Abu Grace and Jeremiah Pume. Thank you. My name is Ezewawa. I will see you next time.